Hey folks, it's Mike Griffith with Team Triangle Realty reaching out on August 19th, 2024. If you're not aware, over the weekend, the MLSs had to adapt to the new rule due to the National Association of Realtors lawsuit. What that means in North Carolina is there have been a few changes, but nothing drastic. There's been a lot of confusion on, what folks are hearing through the media. Remember, the media puts their spin on things, is not always accurate. And North Carolina has had written buyer's agency agreement requirements for years now. The difference was back before August 17th, that buyer's agents were allowed to operate under an oral buyer's agency agreement, basically an oral agreement with a buyer to share the property, and if they're interested in that property, that they would agree to work with that agent. However, now before an agent is able to show a property in North Carolina, that buyer or potential buyer has to sign a written buyer's agency agreement before being able to see the property. That doesn't matter if it's in person or virtually. That's one of the major changes a buyer is going to see when they're starting their home search, is they're going to be inundated with questions and having to sign this agreement before seeing homes. Now, does that have to be for a long period? No, absolutely not. If I am working with the buyers as a potential buyer's agent, I actually, when I'm first meeting with folks, I don't know that we're a good fit together. So in the past, I would, work with the first property or so under an oral agency agreement to say, hey, I'm not really sure if we're going to be a good fit, if I'm going to be a good fit for you, if you're going to be a good fit for me. So I would operate that under that oral agency agreement for the first showing with the understanding, say, hey, after the first house we see, if we decide that we are compatible with each other, we're going to start dating. We're going to start putting our names to this buyer's agency agreement with the understanding that we can back out if need be. So that written buyer's agency agreement can be written for a period of time, a specific property. We don't work for free. You are paying for our services to walk you through the process, give you all of our expertise, advice throughout the process, assistance and negotiations, writing the offer, all of that fiduciary duty that goes along with it. Being an agent, at least in North Carolina, and throughout that process, we expect to get paid. That amount has always been negotiable. However, in the past, what we had is in the MLS, there was an agreement by listing properties in the MLS that a seller or a seller's firm was willing to share commission with that buyer's agent, so that we did not have to try and negotiate up front with every single seller of every listing or with the buyer before showing each and every listing. That has changed, that now listing agent commissions or buyer's agent commissions that are being shared from a listing firm or a seller cannot be listed in that MLS. Most sellers are still going to offer cooperating commission to a buyer's agent. Why? Because it gives them more exposure, allows them to have the buyers agents bring their buyers in and show the property without having to worry about that buyer coming out of pocket for funds. Most buyers do not have the additional funds to pay for a commission to their agent. Has that really changed? Yes and no. Now, with the new rules, things are not as cut and dry. A seller has the opportunity to, not offer a buyer's agent's commission. And then, which they always did, then we're going into a property saying, hey, if you like this home, we're showing you this home, you like the home, and we want to proceed with an offer on that home, I'm going to try and negotiate with the seller and the listing agent to have my commission paid by the seller. That way you don't have to worry about anything coming out of pocket to pay my fee. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to help you buy a home. That is what we love doing. We don't want to financially burden the buyer in any way if we can. Avoid it. So we can negotiate with the seller for the amount of commission. But you have to understand that prior to viewing a home, we have to put a commission amount in there. Now, every agent is different. You're going to have some agents that say, okay, I will do a flat rate. I will do a percentage. It's not uncommon to see percentages anywhere from 2 to 3% for a buyer's agent. That is pretty common. It's always negotiable. But we have to know that we're going into a property that we could spend, months working with a buyer, and that we're actually going to get reimbursed. We do not work hourly. We do not get paid for our gas or our time. There's very few instances that happens. Most all of agents are independent contractors of the firms they work for, and we are strictly commission only, meaning we only get paid if we perform. So I know I've rambled a little bit, but at the end of the day, to see a property, you're going to have to enter into a buyer's agent's agreement with a buyer's agent if you have one that you plan to use. Now, if you call the number on the sign, that listing agent can show you that property without signing a listing agent or a buyer's agent's agreement with you, because they don't work for you. They work for the seller. They have an agency agreement with their seller, but they owe nothing to you other than honesty about the property and what they know. But their fiduciary duty is to the seller. So that means, they are not obligated to, offer any advice on pricing or negotiations, anything that would benefit that buyer. They're not going to be able to do. Only what benefits their seller, their client. And that is why, it benefits a buyer to have their own agent, that they're going in to negotiate on their behalf, honor their fiduciary duty, and not the seller. I'm going to take a break from this topic now, and come back for talk about listings and listing agents.